Canadian auto workers find themselves in the crosshairs of Donald Trump's trade war as the U.S. president levels 25% tariffs on imported vehicles. Good afternoon. Nerves are running high for workers in the auto sector after Trump announced these new tariffs.
A union local in Oshawa is holding an emergency meeting and rally this afternoon with industry leaders to push back against the threat. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live with the latest. Siobhan.
Exactly what that pushback amounts to, we don't know just yet. But this is an industry that employs tens of thousands of people across Ontario, so the stress is very real. Clocking in at Oshawa's General Motors plant in the dark of the early morning, 25% auto tariffs are amping up anxiety for the more than 3,000 people who work here.
I am very concerned about that. I feel like there should be a lot more concern with not just Canadians but Americans as well, because it's going to really ruin the relationship that Canada and America has with each other.
Honestly, every day I go in, I hear everyone talking about it and saying, looking for a second option.
The panic has triggered the union local in Oshawa to summon leaders from all their units for a meeting and rally. The message, elbows up.
We're calling everybody down here. We're having an emergency tariff meeting. We're going to go over our strategy, what we're going to do. They're not taking one piece of equipment out of our plants. We are going to react if that's the case.
The damage from tariffs could have ripple effects for uniform members beyond the shop floor.
We have, mining. We have public transit. We have obviously auto. We have groceries, Loblaws. This all affects us all differently, and it's great to all come together and just discuss it.
Unifor represents some 37,000 Canadian auto and parts workers. They've been taking a stand against tariffs, at odds with United Auto Workers in the U.S., a position Unifor's national president calls extremely naive.
This industry is a North American industry. It has been built that way, and any attack on a part of that industry and on jobs in one country or another is going to impact the other country.
The Premier's been even more direct about what's going to happen with auto and reciprocal tariffs next week.
President Trump's calling it Liberation Day. I call it Termination Day for American workers. I know, President Trump likes telling people you're fired. I didn't think he meant auto workers in the U.S. when he said that.
Doug Ford says he supports retaliatory tariffs at the federal level. Asked if he would trigger some retaliatory measures of his own. He says he wants to see exactly what happens next week with auto and reciprocal tariffs. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. And happening now, uniform members are speaking on the impact of tariffs on the auto industry following the meeting that we noted. Let's listen in.
Sure that happens. If you think as a corporation in this moment that we're in right now, under attack, in a trade war, in an economic war with the United States, that you can appease Donald Trump by shifting our jobs, by shifting production, by impacting Canada, you have to think again. And any corporation who thinks that they can do that, particularly one that we deal with, is going to have to go through our union. And secondly, we expect the government of Canada, no matter who leads it, to stand up for every single auto job and for every single job in this country that is under attack right now, and every single worker that is under attack right now. And they can do it in a number of ways. Including saying to corporations, if you think that you can shift production, factories, mills, and reinvest in the United States out of Canada and think that you're going to have open access to our market, you need to think again. You will be punished. You will be punished by Canadians for trying to destroy jobs in this country, and you need to be punished as well by our government. I'm happy to take questions, and we also have our folks here who will speak. Jeff Gray is the president of 222, so I'm going to hand it over to him first, and then we'll take all your questions.
Thank you, Lana. From Local 222's perspective, we received our charter in 1937. My grandfather was a founding member in 1937. My father started in 1964, my aunts, my uncles. But my story isn't that unusual. Many folks behind me share similar stories. We've made the gains in collective bargaining for 90 years. These are our jobs. We make these companies billions of dollars. Canadian workers are reliable, they're safe, they have high quality, the production standards, they're efficient. We've earned these jobs through decades of collective bargaining, and we're not going to let anybody take our jobs away from us without a fight. Thank you.
You are listening to a live news conference. That was Unifor National President there, Lana Payne, who was up to the mic earlier. These are troubling times for the auto sector, with the United States deciding to go ahead with 25% tariffs on auto imports. They're very concerned about thousands of jobs being at risk. And you heard there that they expect the government to take action in light of this. We will continue to follow this developing story. And you might notice their T-shirts there, elbows up. That's that rallying cry that we've been seeing in light of this trade war with our supposed friends in the United States.
Well, hours after announcing those duties on auto tariffs, the U.S. president made a new threat suggesting Canada and the European Union may see even bigger across-the-board tariffs. Donald Trump posted this on Truth Social, saying, if the European Union works with Canada in order to do economic harm to the USA, large-scale tariffs far larger than currently planned will be placed on them, and both in order to protect the best friend that each of those two countries has ever had. This morning, the White House press secretary was asked specifically about the auto tariffs and said the union that represents American auto workers supports the move.
These auto tariffs yesterday are a big deal for auto workers in the industry. And you saw the United Auto Workers Union, Sean Fain, who wasn't the greatest fan of the president on the campaign trail, came out this morning and applauded the president for this move, saying it's a great thing for auto workers who have been sold out by unfair trade practices.
Shares of major automakers slumped following Trump's announcement on the auto tariffs. Parts and production often cross one or more borders. That means it will cost the companies more to build their vehicles. The tariffs take effect next Thursday.
On Parliament Hill, the Canada-U.S. Cabinet Committee is meeting right now to discuss the auto tariffs.
It's not yet clear exactly how those duties will hit Canada, but before going into the meeting this morning, the finance minister said Ottawa will be ready.
What I want to say for workers at home, we have your back. We've been there before. We're going to be there to support you. We're going to make sure that we build a made-in-Canada supply chain to build vehicles in this country. And certainly, you know, one thing that Washington understands is that we will stand up.
Liberal leader Mark Carney arrived on Parliament Hill after suspending his election campaign to attend the meeting in his capacity of Prime Minister of the caretaker government. Yesterday, he and the other federal leaders were quick to respond to the latest move by the Trump administration.
These tariffs will damage his workers and his economy, just as they will damage ours. We must retaliate and target goods and services that we don't need, can buy elsewhere, or make ourselves to maximize the impact on the Americans while minimizing the impact on ourselves.
What's happened right now is heartbreaking. Like the idea that hundreds of thousands of workers right now are looking at what's just been announced and are wondering, will I lose my job? The prediction is, and some of the estimates are, these are literally hundreds of thousands of jobs that could be impacted in the automotive sector and the supporting sectors around it. There's a lot of jobs at stake right now. So first and foremost, we got to protect these workers, and we've got to fight back like hell to protect these jobs.
This is a direct attack, to be clear, a direct attack on the very workers that I stood in front of. Unifor workers I stood in front of this morning at the Ambassador Bridge. A bridge that is a symbol and a reality up until now of the tight ties between our two countries, ties of kinship, ties of commerce, ties that are in the process of being broken.
And we're expecting to hear more from Mark Carney this afternoon around 1:30 when he emerges from that cabinet meeting. CTV's Renee Rogers joins us now for more on this. Renee, these are troubling times, so uncertain. There's no telling where things are going to go from here. Take us through the reaction so far in light of the U.S.'s latest move.
Hi, Michelle. Well, there has been quite a bit of reaction, including on the stock market, where global auto stocks are trending in the downward direction. That includes General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis, all with big footprints here in southern Ontario. This is industry insiders tell us that these tariffs could wreak havoc on the economy. Canada's automotive industry accounts for over $19 billion of Canada's GDP and is directly responsible for about 128,000 jobs. And this executive order signed yesterday by Trump was enough to force Mark Carney off the campaign trail today to head up a meeting of the Canada-U.S. Relations Council to plan a response. He is promising swift action and support to defend workers, companies, and Canada as a whole. Now, Trump is justifying these tariffs, Michelle, by saying that they will encourage more manufacturing in the U.S. And the United Auto Workers Union in the U.S. is welcoming these new levies, as you heard Carolyn Levitt saying there a moment ago. It's released a statement, and it says that these tariffs are a major step in the right direction for auto workers, and saying it is now on the automakers to bring back good union jobs to the U.S. It's a position completely at odds with Canadian Auto Workers Union Unifor. Take a listen.
I think that the position they're taking is naive. I think that the reality is that this industry is so integrated that any damage that's done to Canada is also going to have a massive impact on American auto workers, and they'll have to live with that.
Unifor National President there, Lana Payne, is warning that these tariffs will hurt Americans just as much as they will hurt Canadians.
That's what makes this also puzzling. And now there's a warning from U.S. President Trump that larger tariffs could be coming. What's the latest there?
Yes, Donald Trump posting to Truth Social this morning, threatening that if Canada and the EU were to get together to impose what he calls economic harm to the U.S., that much higher tariffs than already planned will be imposed on both the EU and Canada. If he says that, he will do this in order to protect the best friend that each of these countries, as he puts it, has ever had. Now, the EU, for its part, has said that it will delay its first set of countermeasures to mid-April. Of course, we are waiting to hear about Canada's response. As you mentioned there, Mark Carney expected to explain a little more about what that meeting, what was talked about in the meeting today with the Canada-U.S. Relations Council, and hopefully we'll find out a little bit more information about Canada's response.
CTV's Renee Rogers live for us in the CTV National Newsroom today. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The Canadian Chamber of Commerce says Detroit, San Antonio, and Kansas City are among the most vulnerable U.S. cities to tariffs. The organization's research looked at 41 American cities to determine which ones are the most dependent on trade with Canada. It says those that are heavily tied to trade with us and Mexico face significant economic risks from tariffs placed on U.S. goods. Research released in February showed Calgary, St. John, New Brunswick, and Windsor are the Canadian cities that would be hit hardest by U.S. tariffs.
And still to come on CTV News at noon, we'll have more on how Trump's tariffs on the auto sector are impacting the ongoing federal election. You heard earlier there, many leaders weighing in. It's the hot topic. We'll have more coming up a little later in the newscast.
Well, in other news, excitement is building for baseball fans. The Toronto Blue Jays begin their 2025 season this afternoon.
The home opener is against the Baltimore Orioles, and the team is hoping to get back to its winning ways. CTV's Mike Walker is live with more on all the anticipation. This is a really fun time of year, Mike.
Opening day is always my favorite, Michelle and Nathan. And yes, baseball is back in Toronto in a few hours from now. The Rogers Centre will be packed and loud. As you can see, the Blue Jays already on the field, warming up ahead of their season and home opener against division rivals, Baltimore Orioles. And we're hearing a lot of optimism for these next 162 games from both the club and its fans. Excited Jays fans arriving early, lining up hours before the gates open. Many tell us opening day is an annual tradition. And with several new faces on the roster, including veteran pitcher Max Scherzer and Jeff Hoffman in the bullpen, as well as outfielder Anthony Santander, the Jays believe they will be contenders this year. But top of mind for many fans heading into this season is the future of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. as well as Bo Bichette. This is the final year of their contracts, and so far the Jays haven't been able to agree on a contract with Vladdy. Here's more with fans on their expectations for this season, as well as Vladdy's future with the club.
I think realistically, it'd be nice if we could, I want to make the playoffs, obviously, but I think it'd be fun if we could go on a run maybe, similar to 15 and win the division. I think that'd be exciting, and then see what happens in the playoffs.
Do you think we got the club that can do that?
I think these boys are motivated enough, couple like the expiring deals, and I think we could pull a run together.
I'm thinking we're going to win 80-plus games. Very hopeful for that. Let's just hope we can have like a good competitive season. I think the Jays should go out and just sign Vladdy already and kind of just like work with Bo and see how he's feeling throughout the year.
I'm hoping that it gets done during the season at some point here. The sooner the better. If it doesn't, it's going to be a great loss. But I think these guys are at it pretty good, and they'll get it done.
He's the icon of the city. He's the icon of baseball. That's why, you know, a lot of fans are a fan of this team. He's just the main staple of this organization, so we need him back for sure.
In just a few moments from now, we'll be hearing from manager John Schneider. Opening pitch will be just after 3 o'clock, and Jose Barrios will be making his third opening day start for the Blue Jays. Reporting live inside the Rogers Center are Mike Walker, Nathan, and Michelle. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Mike. We've got more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. Clear skies, lots of sunshine. We're also going to hit double digits. A great-looking spring day, no doubt the best day of the week. And I wonder if the Dome's going to open today with this good weather, Lindsay.
I mean, I think it is scheduled to be closed, Nathan, but you know what? If it were up to me, it's a pretty nice day out there today. We've got loads of sunshine, and you're right, nice temperatures too for the boys of summer. Okay, maybe not quite feeling like summer, but at game time today for those Jays, 10 degrees under mostly sunny skies. We're on our way now. It is 6 degrees in Hamilton. It is 7 in Niagara Falls and 5 in Peterborough. At the island, Toronto Islands, it is a little bit cooler, 5 degrees compared to Pearson Airport at 7. But again, we are enjoying that sunshine. Winds today are coming out of the southwest, so that's ushering in all that mild air, driving our temperature to about 11 for a daytime high today. But of course, we have to talk about the weekend. We are under a special weather statement for a spring ice storm, and some of that freezing rain could get going as early as tomorrow afternoon. Coming up, we'll talk about the likelihood that we get rain versus freezing rain here in Toronto. That's ahead, but for now, Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Returning to our top story, Mark Carney putting his campaign on hold to meet with the Cabinet Committee on Canada-U.S. relations after President Trump announced 25% tariffs on imported vehicles. CTV's Jeremy Sharon joins me now from Ottawa to talk about the impact on the federal election. And Jeremy, President Trump seems to have put himself in the middle of the Canadian election campaign by announcing more tariffs.
Yeah, absolutely, Nathan. Look, I think all leaders across the board here have been preparing for the prospect of Donald Trump throwing a wrench at some point in this campaign and kind of changing things, changing plans. That is to be expected. Anyone who was not planning for that is making a mistake. What we've seen today is exactly that. You know, Liberal leader Mark Carney taking a break from the campaign. He was due to be in Quebec most of the day today. He's here back in Ottawa, acting in his role as Prime Minister, meeting with his Cabinet Committee on U.S.-Canada relations. That meeting we're hearing starting to slowly wrap up here. Some of the ministers making their way out of West Block in the last few minutes or so. Prime Minister Mark Carney expected to make an announcement or provide an update this afternoon on how that meeting went, Canada's potential response to these auto sector tariffs, as they kind of focus today, at least, the first portion of the day, on responding and addressing the concerns that these tariffs pose and the threat that these tariffs pose from Donald Trump. Then we'll see Mark Carney return to Montreal later this evening for a rally, a scheduled rally that will go ahead. In terms of other changes from other leaders, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh also kind of changing things around. His campaign late last night making the decision to spend today in Windsor rather than London, Ontario. Windsor, of course, kind of the epicenter of the auto sector in this province. He is meeting with some auto sector union leaders today. He'll He'll make an announcement at a union hall later today around certainly the auto sector. We know that the Liberals yesterday proposed some relief for auto sector workers in the face of these tariffs. And Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, meanwhile, spending the day today in BC, kind of sticking to his plan. He's in Coquitlam. He's in Surrey, BC as well. He's focusing on a policy announcement today surrounding tax-free savings accounts. He's proposing a $5,000 top-up. That's in addition to the $7,000 the government already allows Canadians to put in a tax-free savings account a year. The Conservatives are proposing a $5,000 top-up to what you would be allowed to put into that account that would be focused on Canadian investments. They say that is a way to drive investments into the Canadian economy. It'll help Canadian businesses as well and allow for Canadians to access more savings in those tax-free savings accounts. So what we've seen today, Nathan, is certainly some impacts on the campaign trail through that Donald Trump tariff announcement.
Yeah, a lot of countermeasures being promised. All right, CTV's Jeremy Sharon in Ottawa with the latest on the federal election campaign. Thank you.
Anytime.
Well, to other news, Peel police are investigating a fatal shooting inside the home of a rural property in Brampton.
Police say gunfire erupted overnight and a few other people sustained minor injuries. CTV's Janice Golding is live with the latest on what happened. Janice.
Hi, Michelle. Yes, a man in his 20s is dead and 2 other people were taken to hospital after a shooting inside this house here in Brampton. Now, as you can see behind us, this is a very large home on Heritage Road near Embleton. Police say the call came in at around 11 o'clock. Now, this is a family residence and there were others present at the time of the shooting. Paramedics do tell us that 2 people were taken to hospital with minor injuries along with the deceased. However, we do not know at this point what those injuries consisted of or if they were shot. Now, Peel police say that they do not have any suspect information at this point. They did shut down Heritage Road overnight, but it reopened during the morning rush. Here's more from police and area residents.
On March 26, just after 11 p.m., we received a 911 call for a shooting at a residence in the area of Heritage Road and Embleton Road in the city of Brampton. Officers arrived on scene with Peel paramedics and Brampton Fire. They located one male in his 20s that had been shot. He was then transported to a local hospital. Despite best efforts with our first responders, the victim was pronounced deceased at the hospital.
We see a lot of lights and flashing, and so the police lights were out there, and suddenly there were 10 more police cars. Then we thought some incident happened outside.
It's a very unfortunate event to hear being around in this kind of situation. Basically, usually Canada being a very safer country, right? We are hearing these kind of things more often nowadays. So.
Now, homicide investigators have taken carriage of this investigation and officers are currently canvassing for surveillance and dash cam video. Of course, if you have any information, you are asked to contact Peel Regional Police. Reporting live from Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. Police are investigating a deadly shooting in Etobicoke. Police were called to Martin Grove and Albion Road just after 9 o'clock last night for reports of a man shot. When they arrived on scene, they found a male victim with injuries. He was pronounced dead. There's no word on suspects. Police are asking anyone with information to come forward.
Next to the trial of 2 people charged in the murder of OPP Constable Greg Pershala.
The officer was shot and killed on December 27, 2022. Brandy Stewart Sperry and Randall McKenzie are facing charges of first-degree murder. They were led into the courthouse this morning. The trial is expected to last 6 weeks. CTV's Krista Simpson is covering the opening arguments today.
It was just a few days after Christmas 2022 when Constable Greg Pershala was responding to what seemed to be a routine call, a car in the ditch in the Hagersville area. Pershala was 28 years old and a recent hire by Haldimand County OPP. He was fatally shot while responding to that call. In an unusual move, police at the time put out a public alert asking people in the areas to stay inside their home while they conducted a search. They also put out photos and descriptions of the people they were looking for. And not long after, they did make 2 arrests. Randall McKenzie and Brandy Stewart Sperry are both charged with first-degree murder in Pershala's death. Today, we are expecting to hear the Crown's opening statement, and then they will begin calling witnesses. Back to you.
Thank you. Durham Regional Police have released details on the latest crackdown on auto theft in the area.
The latest investigation is dubbed Project Carbon. CTV's Beth McDonnell is live in Whitby with more details. Beth.
Yes, Nathan, Durham Regional Police are sharing details of an auto theft investigation called Project Carbon. We're going to show you a series of videos now. Police have confirmed one specific group is responsible for 38 vehicle thefts from across Durham since the start of the year. This video is from the end of January, and coming up now is another theft from February. In this second video, the suspect hits a police car and drives towards an officer. And then the third video you're going to see is from a plaza. In this case, a suspect who is out on bail already as part of this identified Project Carbon group gets recognized by a police officer. When the officer tries to apprehend her, she gets into the passenger seat of a vehicle. That car reverses, then drags the officer, and then hits a parked car before they get away.
We don't know how many more are involved with this group at this time, but I just want to make sure the message is out there that we're watching and the community is vigilant in providing video to help solve these crimes. And we will catch you if we can identify you.
Police have linked this specific group out of Quebec, and police believe the remaining suspects could still be in Quebec or they could be in the GTA. We know that the Port of Montreal is a hub to get stolen vehicles out of the country. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell.
Thank you, Beth. Elsewhere, one person was sent to hospital. This is in Mississauga last night after an incident outside a Canadian Tire store. Emergency crews were called to the location near Mavis and Britannia Road just after 8:30 p.m. Peel police say a suspect had been taken into custody for allegedly shoplifting. When the situation escalated, the suspect suffered minor injuries during the course of the arrest and was transported from the scene by paramedics.
Toronto police are asking for your help tracking down a suspect wanted on a long list of charges, including assault, break and enter, and failure to comply with the release order. Investigators outlined a list of allegations against 34-year-old Carl Chateauvert. They say he was involved in a store break-in in the West End back in October and a series of robberies from parked vehicles. In one instance in January, he's accused of threatening and assaulting a group of people who were inside one of those cars. Police say they spotted Chateauvert near Bloor and Jarvis on Tuesday, but he was able to ram police vehicles with a white Nissan Sentra and drive off. They're asking anyone who knows where he is to get in touch.
York Regional Police have charged a doctor from Richmond Hill with a historical sexual assault. Last April, police say they were contacted by a victim who'd attended an appointment with 71-year-old Brian Sheffield. The victim claimed she was set to undergo a medical exam in July of 2016, but she reported the accused touched her, quote, for a sexual purpose and didn't carry out any other examinations. Sheffield stands accused of one count of sexual assault.
And York police have also charged a 32-year-old man with sexual offenses involving a youth under the age of 16. It's alleged Tanner Guile of Mississauga represented himself as an 18-year-old to a victim in Vaughan. After meeting in person in February, police say the victim contacted police with their concerns. Guile now faces charges including sexual assault and sexual interference. Investigators warn there may be other victims, and they're encouraged to reach out to police.
Overseas, France and Britain say they will continue to forge ahead with plans to deploy troops in Ukraine to secure any eventual peace deal with Russia. A summit was held in Paris today. Leaders of nearly 30 countries, plus NATO and European Union chiefs, were in attendance. They have been mulling over the proposal for a peacekeeping force, which Ukraine wants. Several member states have expressed their willingness to join, but it is not unanimous. However, unanimity is not required in order to proceed.
One of the world's most active volcanoes is still erupting. Lava began bubbling through the crust of Kilauea on Tuesday afternoon. The volcano on the big island of Hawaii has been erupting on and off since December 23rd. This one marks the 15th episode. Some of the eruptions have lasted hours. The longest went on for 8 days. This eruption has been contained to a remote area of the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park.
Well, as you know, we are monitoring the potential for an ice storm this weekend. And at this point, there's a little more certainty that any freezing rain will fall outside of the city limits. So anywhere from Parry Sound toward Peterborough and including the Kingston area. As far as your weekend forecast here in Toronto, if it's not freezing rain, it will be rain. Plan on it being an unsettled weekend. Bit of a question mark when it comes to both Saturday and Sunday's temperature. If we get mild enough, again, this will be a rain event, but that risk of freezing rain remains. And we're going to take you through what you need to know for the weekend and for the first couple of days of April after this break here on CTV News. We'll be right back.
Glorious sunshine today. It really does feel so nice. And then you have the nice temperature along with it, getting up to double digits today, which is cool.
Yeah, it does feel like spring. Great seeing the sun outside, and certainly the best day of the week. And I kind of do wonder about the weekend, like what really is going to happen.
I know. Well, regardless of whether or not we get freezing rain or rain this weekend, I think we better enjoy today because not a lot of days looking like this, at least not in the short range forecast. Today's the one to get outside because starting tomorrow afternoon, we are looking at wet weather rolling in, maybe a thunderstorm, and yes, maybe some mixing or some freezing rain. Expecting some pretty slippery conditions outside of the GTA for sure. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. All is calm today for the most part. We had a beautiful blue sky this morning. We are expecting a mostly blue sky through this afternoon. Worth mentioning, though, there is the slightest chance of a passing shower as we make our way into the early part of this evening. And I'll show you that in just a moment. But yeah, today at a glance, pretty nice. 11 for the high. 7 is our average daytime high this time of year. But of course, we're paying a lot of attention to the active weather that's going to impact our weekend. And I know so many people make plans over the weekend, traveling by road, and freezing rain is a bit of a concern when it comes to that travel because conditions can get quite slippery quite quickly. Here's a look at what we're dealing with. So we've got one cold front that's going to swing through later on today, going to bring a little bit of light snow to eastern sections of Ontario. For us, yeah, we might see a little bit of an increase in cloud. There's that chance of a shower again around 6:30 p.m. Nothing major. Then as we head into Friday, we're going to start off with some cloud cover. Chance of a passing flurry in through the late morning and early afternoon. That's not the main event. That starts to arrive as we make our way into Friday night. There's about 8 p.m. You can see that little patch of pink there. So that's indicative of the start of some freezing rain, mainly at a higher elevation away from the downtown core. We've also got the potential for thunderstorm activity, especially in southwestern Ontario, likely non-severe in nature, but it is worth mentioning. Then overnight and into early Saturday, this is the target area more specifically for the freezing rain. So Muskoka over toward Peterborough in through the Ottawa Valley. If you have travel plans to this part of the province, you should plan on there being freezing rain, maybe a prolonged period of it, along with ice accretion. There's Saturday afternoon and evening around the GTA, unsettled. And yes, you can see that we have a couple of opportunities to be clipped by that freezing rain, especially if the temperature cools enough. In any case, plan on some rain, measurable rain at that, upwards of 20 millimeters expected. And then ice buildup could be up to about 20 millimeters in some areas. Heads up around Peterborough and Kingston into the Bancroft area. Could be quite icy by the time we reach Sunday. Temperature-wise, let's bring it back to today. It's 10 degrees now in Windsor, 4 in the Ottawa area. 11, again, is our forecast daytime high here locally. Couple that with the sunshine, and it is a pretty nice day. Just that chance of showers as we make our way into the evening. And then the 7-day forecast looks pretty unsettled starting Friday, continuing, in fact, into Monday. Just want to again mention the temperatures. Bit of a question mark for Saturday, Sunday. Could be mild, around 6-7 degrees. Could be cooler than that at times, close to freezing. Again, making for a bit of a tricky forecast. Tuesday is the first day of April, and by that day, we will finally once again enjoy a mix of sun and cloud. That's the forecast for now. Michelle, back to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. And as temperatures climb, Ontario is preparing for this year's wildfire season. The province says it has filled nearly 100 more permanent positions to enhance firefighting efforts throughout the 2025 season. Along with support from the feds, officials cite a combined investment of $64 million to also bring in new equipment and tech to tackle blazes when they pop up. Ontario's wildfire season runs from April 1st through to the end of October, and around half of those fires are blamed on humans.
Coming up, a boy who fled Afghanistan and the Taliban 4 years ago to make a new life here in Canada forges a bright future. We catch up with the young man with an exciting update. We have an update to the story of a boy who fled the Taliban for a life in Toronto.
When we first met him back in 2021, he was begging for help. Now he is excelling at school and he's preparing for his post-secondary education. CTV's Sean Leathong has more.
Mirwais Toki is someone we've told you about before, but until now, we've never shown his face.
I was afraid of going back home, afraid of darkness, afraid of not getting educated.
In 2021, he and his family were stuck in Kandahar, a place where they'd been advocates for education of both men and women. As the country was falling to the Taliban, they received threats. Then 13-year-old Mirwais cried for help.
I ask you that, please, I beg you that get us out from Afghanistan.
Hoping to come to Canada, he wrote a letter saying, "In my native tongue, my name means light, and my light has burned bright. My goal is to be a mathematician or an engineer. I want to raise my voice for Afghan women and Afghan youth. But everything has changed and my light is dimming. I wake up to the sounds of bombs and bullets exploding and places near my houses getting hit by the Taliban rockets." Today he's in Toronto. Life is much different.
The light is shining right now.
After a harrowing journey escaping his home country, the now 17-year-old is in grade 12 at Clarkson Secondary School in Mississauga. With an average of over 95%, the kid who once dreamed of pursuing higher education has been accepted to computer science programs at Queen's, Carleton, Ottawa, Guelph, and the University of Toronto. That's where we met him walking the campus and thinking about his choice.
It's the gut feeling that matters the most, I think, and my gut feeling is telling me to come here next year.
His parents and two sisters are thriving as they work towards Canadian citizenship. His aunt, who's an academic in Boston, says the family is so relieved to be in Canada.
I think it just, you live as a human in your full capacity instead of just like, you cannot even dream of a thing because you know you can't do it.
And Mirwais is taking to his new home in all the usual ways.
I guess poutine, maple syrup, hockey.
Mostly feeling free, where he was once afraid. Now he says,
never give up and dream big.
Knowing there is a lot of light in his future. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
As school boards pursue lawsuits over the impact of social media platforms on students, Instagram is rolling out what it calls its school partnership program. The social media site says the program works directly with middle schools and high schools to reduce the impact of online bullying and harmful content. Instagram says it will carry out prioritized reviews of any potential rule-breaking posts if they're reported by a participating institution. The initiative also promises resources for educators, parents, and guardians to help teens navigate Instagram safely. Right now, the school partnership program is only available in the U.S.
Over 3 years after a deadly on-set shooting, the first trailer is out for Alec Baldwin's Western movie, Rust.
Heaven ain't waiting on neither one of us.
The movie tells the story of a boy who's sentenced to death in 1880s Kansas. He then flees custody in a daring escape with his grandfather, played by Baldwin. The project gained widespread attention in October 2021 when Baldwin was holding a prop gun that fired a live round, killing cinematographer Helena Hutchins. After premiering in Poland last fall, Rust is expected to have a wider release May 2nd.
After postponing several tour dates because of medical issues, piano man Billy Joel is set to be the focus of a new documentary.
I'm late, but I'm here right now.
HBO's confirmed it's working on a two-part project titled Billy Joel, and So It Goes. It's billed as an expansive portrait of the artist's life and music. The documentary is said to feature unprecedented access to never-before-seen performances, videos, and photos of Joel from over the decades. It'll be out this summer.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV.
A new poll suggests the number of Canadians concerned they'll lose their job in an escalating trade war is on the decline. Leger surveyed nearly 1,600 Canadians over the last weekend. 38% of those who are currently employed said they're worried about losing their employment over the next year. That may seem high, but it marks a decrease from the lower 40s in recent weeks. The Canadian Labour Congress weighed in, saying the drop could show increasing confidence the country will get through the crisis by working together. Leger said the drop could also reflect the fact that broader economic impacts aren't visible yet.
Dollarama is looking to expand its retail footprint outside of Canada. The Dollar Store has agreed to buy Australia's largest discount retailer, named The Reject Shop. The purchase deal was for $233 million Canadian, more than double the company's value at closing on Wednesday. Dollarama said it was looking for the right opportunity to expand into new markets, and it's hoping to build on its experience from stores in Canada and Latin America.
Nintendo stock has trended upwards in recent days as the video gaming giant prepares to release its next flagship product. After sharing a preview of the Nintendo Switch 2, the company is prepared to share full details on its newest console next week. While it won't be on the shelves immediately, analysts say sales forecasts are strong, as it's been 7 years since the release of the original Switch. Goldman Sachs Group weighed in, saying it expects the release of the Switch 2 to drive Nintendo's active user figures to new heights.
The number of infections in an ongoing measles outbreak in this province continued to skyrocket. Officials have been tracking the impact of a single case that traveled from New Brunswick in October. Since then, Public Health Ontario says it has now reported a total of 572 measles infections. That is an increase of more than 100 since last week's update. The vast majority of those cases have been linked to that first individual. 42 of those infections ended up requiring hospitalization. 41 of those cases were among people who were not immunized. Health experts say getting vaccinated remains the best protection. Researchers at McMaster University have identified a new class of antibiotics.
It comes at a time when antibiotic-resistant bacteria is considered a top global public health threat. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has the details.
We've had variations on old antibiotics that come out, but we've never had a brand new chemical molecule like we have now.
Professor Jerry Wright and a team of researchers at McMaster have returned to ground level, literally, to search for a new way to fight infections.
Most of the antibiotics that we discovered happened between 1940 and 1965, roughly. The scientific tools available to researchers at the time don't compare to what we have now.
Things like computers and gene sequencing have helped them identify a new antibiotic they're calling lariocydin.
The name comes from the fact that it's part of a family of peptides that have the shape of a lariat, that is a lasso. They're called lasso peptides.
And what it catches isn't cows, but harmful bacteria.
It is hits an old target called the ribosome, which is the structure inside the cell that makes proteins, but it hits it in a brand new spot. So it binds to a brand new spot, and it actually kills the cells. Antibiotic resistance is a global healthcare crisis. It is probably one of the most important existential threats on how we practice medicine going forward.
Antibiotics are not only essential in human healthcare, but also in food production.
In fact, most of the antibiotics used on the planet, probably 2/3 to 3/4, are used in food animal production.
Wright says lariocydin causes no harm to human cells, but it attacks a wide range of pathogenic bacteria, including Staphylococcus and E. coli. More research is needed, but if all goes well, it could be in use in several years' time. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Coming up, the Raptors faced off against the Brooklyn Nets last night. We have a recap and the rest of your sports headlines after the break.
The Raptors were looking for a second straight win when they took on the Brooklyn Nets last night.
And it's not like those minutes, Avachi with the three.
The Raps jumped out to an early lead and never looked back. They ended up winning the game 116-86, and the team is back on the court tomorrow to play the Charlotte Hornets.
The Toronto Sceptres were looking for a third straight win when they took on the Boston Fleet last night.
Rather fast. Skates it all around the net, takes a shot.
The Sceptres trailed until the third period, but they scored 4 goals in the final frame, securing the 4-2 victory. The team will be back on the ice Sunday to take on the Minnesota Frost.
Tavares plays that back for Nylander. Shoots, scores! Nylander, 5-1 Toronto.
Meanwhile, the Maple Leafs are going for their second straight win tonight. They beat the Flyers 7-2 on Tuesday and begin a 3-game road trip out west this evening. Toronto takes on the Sharks in San Jose with puck drop set for shortly after 10:30.
Great time for sports. I'm thinking about going to the Jays game. If you're going to wear shorts and a T-shirt, that's risky because it cools down at night.
It's definitely risky, but I mean, you look outside and you see that sunshine and you kind of get ready to put winter behind you.
If you're going to wear shorts and T-shirts, today is the day to do it. Maybe not so much over the weekend. It's going to be quite unsettled. Let's take one more look at our overnight at a glance. Dropping to about 0 tonight. Wind chill making it feel colder than that. So maybe not shorts and T-shirts tomorrow either. Daytime high of 4 with those showers beginning in the afternoon. And once again, there is a risk of freezing rain. We are under this special weather statement here in the city of Toronto. Risk is mainly for north and east of here, but could be a bit of an unsettled, slippery weekend with some of this rain changing to freezing rain at times. I think this is what they call March going out like a lion. Wouldn't you say, Nathan and Michelle?
It looks like it. Thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.